So we know that the tourism industry is a vital sector for developing countries to boost economic development. So for instance, the special report 2019 of the United Nations Institute of Peace on Tourism in the developing world reveals that tourism is the fourth largest industry in the global economy. And it further says that although often underestimated, the tourism industry can help promote peace, stability in developing countries by providing jobs, generating income, diversifying the economy, protecting the environment, promote cross-cultural awareness. To give the origin of the tourist-led growth hypothesis, we know the positive and significant impact on economic growth through enhancing the tourism industry. Our today keynote speaker has vast experience in the tourism industry. Professor M.S.M.Aslam is a professor in tourism management attached to the Department of Tourism Management at the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. And also he is a director of the Center for Research and Knowledge Dissemination and the chairman board of postgraduate study at the Faculty of Management Studies. He obtained his bachelor's degree, Bachelor of Science, Business Studies, specializing in tourism management from the Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka. He has completed his Master of Science in Management at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura in Sri Lanka and obtained his doctoral philosophy in tourism from the University Putra, Malaysia under the title Contribution of Tourism to Sustainable Rural Development in Sri Lanka. He also worked for a pioneer travel agency inbound tour operator in Sri Lanka before he joined the university. Professor Aslam also serves as a resource person, advisor, consultant for national, provincial, local and community level tourism planning and development in Sri Lanka. He is the chief consultant for the 5-year tourism development plan 2016 to 2020 in Ampara and Bettikal district. He serves as a national consultant of homestay tourism for Ministry of Tourism in Sri Lanka. He was on the Ministry Advisory Board on Community-Based Tourism Development in Sri Lanka from 2008 to 2010. At present, he is a member of the Academic Board of Sri Lanka Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management. Dear Professor, I have selected some from your profile. Of course, your profile is too long to take up all, and we impress and we regret to not being able to take all of. And also he has contributed a lot to the research pool locally and internationally. And we very much honored to have you today. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the floor to you to talk about the topic today. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shamila. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's of course, real privilege and great honor for me to take this opportunity to share my thoughts and my research facts with these valuable, eminent resource panels and especially the practitioners in Sri Lanka tourism. Of course, I think about my profile, Dr. Shamla, I think you would have been a bit more exaggerated. So I'm not so such a expert, and there may be more expert than me here, right? Okay. Thank you very much for anyone, whoever, contributed for this forum. And it's a very timely and most important webinar just to brush up ourselves or empower our Sri Lankan tourism practitioners. Of course, the title which is today we have chosen is role of tourism in economic recovery and nation building process. Of course, no one deny that tourism is the most nearest. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, thank you. So therefore, and no one can deny that tourism is the most nearest and most possible avenue for us to recover and rebuild the nation. So in that sense, I think everyone agree and support, even from the top to bottom, from the grassroots community, even they are waiting for the tourism to come into Sri Lanka and to support the economy and the other developmental process. So in this moment, one thing I had to share with you, tourism is a very tastiest, most sweetest, and everyone loves this cake. It's a very most delicious cakes. It's a global cake, and we are there to share the cake. That is what in 2016, we declared the World Tourism Day as a tourism for all, even for poorest of the poor who can take part in tourism, even from the richest person in the world can take part in tourism. So this is for everybody. So this is the global tagline for tourism. So that means it contributes a lot for the global economy, global socio-culture, global environmental sustainability, and socio-cultural sustainability. So therefore, after we declare the Sustainable Development Declaration 1987 in Tokyo Declarations, the first industry which took over the challenge to establish the sustainable order of this world, that is the most prevalently tourism, because tourism is one of the industries really underpinned with the social culture, economy, and environment. Without these three, tourism cannot exist. So therefore that's the very powerful tool in the world. In 1969, Professor Cad introduced the tourism as a passport, because 89% of the developing nations more or less depend on tourism industry. So that means it is the most powerful wealth sharing industry. So there is no doubt in Sri Lanka since 1960s, it has taken the official form, official face of the national economic, one of the major source of national economy. So, but we have a long history of tourism from the prehistorical era and the historical era, even the modern history and the latest history. We have a traditionally the most strategic destination for East-West travelers. So therefore, we are very blessed with, as you all explained, we are very much blessed with natural, man-made, and cultural resources. We have a plentiful resources for the tourism. That is the reason, even if we close the door, people will be waiting at the door to enter into the destination. This is the situation so far. But unfortunately, Sri Lankan common issue is there. One of the major issues, even the yesterday night, we had a webinar with the Professor Stu Hanke, was the well-known professor in bankruptcy of economies. And we had a 2-hour sessions. And there one thing what we found, although we got the independence and we started our own nation from 1948, but unfortunately, we have a two portion before the independent and post-independent. Post-independent, before the, especially the Englishman or foreign invaders, the country was flourishing, even during the feudal system, because of the country's natural resources and our ancestral effort made the country to be more colorful, and it painted whole the world as a beautiful paradise since the prehistoric and historical period. Unfortunately, after 1948, we had a very big issue. Although we got independent, we failed to establish as an independent nation. We thought when Englishmen left that the country is independent, but we forget to establish the country because one and only the reason is our knowledge integrated development was totally forgotten. So that is one of the major cause. Even today we are struggling to refix the problem. Why? We are not knowledge centered or knowledge based developed nations. We think all the gunners can be the hunters. All the gunners can be the good shooters, but cannot be good hunters. So this is what happened to Sri Lanka. If I say today's Sri Lankan context, recovery and rebuilding tourism in ignorant destinations. That's the present station. Because you would have heard about from the childhood, this fable of 6 blind men and an elephant, this story. Whoever touched the elephant, they thought that is the elephant. Same story happening in Sri Lanka, very sorry to say. That's from the bottom to top to bottom. So far, even today, we are happy our industry survived, not because of our effort, but because of our entrepreneurs, our private sector interventions. Because they who do a lot for the tourism growth. But as a professor from the university system, I had to accept my fault. I had to accept my inability that we have done for the tourism is very, very negligible level. So that is the reason that today we are unable to gain the brand, we are unable to gain the global tourism, whatever the target positionings and all. Why? The reason is we have not done much for the tourism as a people, but because of the private sectors and the complementary gift from the country, it's made the tourism in Sri Lanka as a reality. So that is the reason, one of the, still this is the issue. No one is unable to understand the tourism as a whole picture, tourism as the value chain. So that is the problem. People are unable to find where is the problem, where is the issue. Because if we know if we have the insight only, we can fix the problem, we will identify the problem and we can solve. But unfortunately, still in Sri Lanka, struggling in that point. So finally, what happened to tourism is in Sri Lanka, it's either scapegoat or a scapegoat, especially for the political rulers. Before it comes, tourism is one of the most colorful industries. We are going to develop the country through the tourism. Then the tourism became a scapegoat. Once they come on failure, tourism became the scapegoat. Put all the blame on tourism. Because of loss of tourism, we could not make the country success. This is very pathetic situation at the moment you and me are undergoing. So that is the reason. It's not a scapegoat or a scapegoat, but that is the capitalization of the country. We have plentiful manpower, plentiful natural resources, historically built resources, and we have natural biodiversity. It's a hotspot of biodiversity. But unfortunately, the country fails to do the sustainable capitalization of this. So we think the number of heads who enter into the country through the airport all are tourists. And we don't know what are the value of the tourists and what is the market realism of tourism in different segments. So that is the problem today we are facing. So therefore, we need, first of all, the human capacity building. People should know. I think everybody should understand. One of the Sinhalese proverbs is there, Hakurukanda Gurekone. What do you mean by that? And we should have a knowledge. Without the knowledge, it's not the industry just to play around. So we need to have a scientific base. We need to have a knowledge-centered process. But unfortunately, this is not being realized by the, I think from the, especially with the developers and the authorities. That is one of the failure. Although we have a very good skilled and highly talented entrepreneurs and the practitioners tourism, but unfortunately, industries doesn't create that platform for us to capitalize our resources. That is the problem at the moment you and me are facing. So what happened actually in Sri Lanka tourism at a glance, if I give, up to 2018, we are performing very well, marvelously. But unfortunately, in 2019, everybody knows, due to these, so-called terrorist attacks, hammered the industry like nothing. So again, we were, with our effort of all the private sectors and especially that times, especially with some people's effort, were able to recover in 2019, even after the terrorist attack. But unfortunately, again in 2020, the industry was devastated with the COVID pandemic. And after that, with the COVID pandemic, we are thinking to unfortunately contributing to the crisis of currencies and so many developmental challenges and the shortfalls. We could not capture it. But there was no big effect over directly to the tourism. There's no any attack over the tourist. But unfortunately, due to the misunderstanding, due to the inadequate knowledge and skills, unfortunately, through the media and the social media, we lost the industry. That was the truth presently. So because there was no any issues for the tourist, if we were able to provide their basic needs like transportations, accommodations, and the facilities and the attraction sites, we could have run the tourism. But unfortunately, the media coverage and the some sort of a sarcastic communication through our responsible people led the industry to fall. So that was the present context. But this is one of the most valuable industry. I think everybody, I think already you all said this is maybe the third or a fourth rank industry to bring foreign exchange into the country. And it's a contribution in numerous ways. So what happened after these things? So just couple of hours before the minister, the present ministers, I think as soon after he joined the industry, I was called by one of the entrepreneur plus one of the ministers, very close person, to support to how to develop the recovery. So in my capacity and with one of my colleagues' support, we developed one of the strategic paper, just a 1.5 page. It's not just a plan or just a big document, just a 1.5 page document. Even not even the 1.5 page, just a 1 page documents. And we gave them a very simple 5 strategies. Very simple 5 strategies. These are the strategies I gave them. And how we can do that? We had to improve the institutional performance, effectiveness, and efficiency and effectiveness. That is starting from SLTDA and SLTPB, Promotion Bureau, SLATHM, and other provincial tourism authorities to, we had to do a massive work with them because that we need some sort of a dynamic, some sort of competitive, competent people to take over the challenge. That was our first request for the minister to start there from the SLTD and SLV. We know the private sector is ready to move forward, but unfortunately the system is barriered or hindered for them to move forward. Then we had to, in the second strategy, I just, I don't want to go with the sub strategies, but I just involved. Then the organization structure, there was a huge lapse in organization structure. Because you can't just think on do these things. We need the people who can that this is not just a one-man show. It's not just a one industry. It is an amalgamated industry. It is sectorally integrated industry, and everyone should get ready, and everybody should come forward. It could be the different ministries, different institutions, different departments. So we need to have a proper organization structure. Still in Sri Lanka, that was one of the problems. Because you go to the lake is owned by irrigation department or sometimes agriculture department. They say, this is not for tourism. So you can practice tourism somewhere else. If you go to archaeological department, may say, these are archaeological resources. It's not meant to practice tourism. So these organizations are within one single island. There are a number of islands, everybody in their own state. So we had to go for a proper organization structure to improve the system. Then we had to want to understand the importance of the tourism value chain. It is most important because tourism value chain include each and every value chain actor who are the prominent component of tourism industry. That starting from the attractions, accessibility, transport provider, transport systems, and the amenities who provide all the facilities in the ground and on the air and all the facility providers and service providers like restaurants and every shopping malls everywhere. So they had to be improved and they had to get involved. And the next one is accommodations. So we have a large industry because unfortunately in Sri Lanka, when you enter in the tourism, everybody thinks tourism is establishing hotels. Tourism is just lodging. That's the one of the very, very, mere definition they have. Anybody want to get involved in tourism, just go and establish the hotel or just a guest house or maybe finally they come to the homestays. So the next one is tourism is activity. It's not just a storytelling, or it's not just a, theoretical dreams or anything. It's really activities, and people should take part in different activities. So therefore, the value chain is very important, including ancillary services and tour guides, travel agency operation. There are so many entrepreneurial interventions. So they had to go for a macro level integration, meso level integration, and the micro level integration when you come to the tourism value chain at 3 level. So the macro level, they had to go to the different ministries, different institutions, and they had to integrate all this. When they come to the meso level, they had to have a policies, they had a marketing arm, they had to have a research and development, they had to have a product designing and development, so many things at the meso level. And the micro level, we get the operators. They are the accommodation operators, they are the transport operators, they are the facility operators. Like this, so many people will be at the micro level. Okay, Shamila, running the time, right? Just inform me if I'm too, right?
Yes, Professor, carry on.
Yeah. Okay. So then these are the, then the vibrant recovery marketing we had to do. It's not a just simple thing. It's a massive effort. And we had to go to the responsible tourism marketing for the resilient tourism. It's not just a simple, normally available tourism. We had to go for a resilient tourism. This was a strategy followed by many other destinations and many other countries, like including after financial crisis in Malaysia, even after the, the economic crisis of Philippines. They all started the resilient tourism marketing. So we had to go for that. So still we don't see any resilient tourism marketing. And then we had to go for the foreign missions, taking the resilient tourism, and we had to get the support of all the foreign missions, and we had to go with the products. We had to go with the products. It's not just a communication or having a meeting and things. We had to go with the segmented product. What are these, our health tourism? What are our adventure tourism? What are our dark sky tourism? What are our tea tourism? We had to go with the bundles of products. So we have to show the products and market. So that is not happening. Just we can't go with the bulk, marketing, taking Sri Lanka as a whole, and we just tell that people to come. That's not anymore. That tourism is no more in the world. And we have to go with the products. And we have to go for the, Sri Lankan, missions who are based in other countries. Their biggest task is to promote the country in those countries. And unfortunately, according to my communication with many country foreign missions, our diplomatic missions who are in overseas, they don't understand anything about the tourism promotion in those countries. That's one of the biggest failure. Their biggest task now, if I saw the Malaysian foreign missions in other countries, they are doing a very big marketing campaign to push the tourists to Malaysia. But our foreign mission, what are they doing? It's a very big question mark. I don't know what are such a busy schedule they have rather than, promoting and building the brand image of the country. So this is invisible. And we also had to go for the bloggers, and we had to go for the, most digital marketing system. And these are very important for us to recover the tourism. So then we have to go for the supply chain management. And definitely it should be a responsible supply chain. Because if Sri Lankan thinks that we have to import everything from overseas and do tourism, that is the biggest failure. That is the biggest foolishness. We should think about capitalizing our own resources, because at the moment Sri Lanka tourism foreign exchange leakage of through the tourism is more than 77%. So still, if he thinks that we have to import the things and do tourism, definitely we are going to push all the foreign exchange earning back to the overseas. And my good friends, the present chairman, when he came to the media and said we have to import the French wine and do tourism, it's no more. Because present tourists, they are experienced tourists. They want to enjoy our local things. They want to experience our culture. So therefore, they need to be provided our local goods at a high quality. We should have a mechanism to how to capitalize our resources to cater to the foreign, the tourist. That's very important. So if we can improve our local capitalized responsible value chain, definitely we will be able to should improve the profile and the brand of our products. And we should be able to improve the market access. We should be able to improve the operational effectiveness and increase sustainability. So this is the reason I don't agree with if somebody says that Sri Lanka is a bankrupt country, because we have only the operational bankruptcy. It's not a deadlock bankruptcy. If we go for the deadlock bankruptcies, we should be empty with the resources. We should not have the skilled manpower. But in Sri Lanka, we are blessed with the plentiful resources, and we have enough skilled manpower, and especially we have a dynamic private sector who can carry forward the country. So therefore, it's not a deadlock bankruptcy. It's operational bankruptcy because of our inefficient management, our mismanagement. So therefore, here we have to understand how to improve the supply chain management. So then finally, I had to come to show how the old tourists and the new tourists. So if we targeting old tourists, we are failed, because the old tourists who doesn't want to have the experience, who are inexperienced people who don't want to just to come and wave the hands and show the back and move. But the present tourists are not like that. The emerging tourists are, they want to have the authentic, genuine experience. The all tourists are passive tourists. Now we are getting the active tourists. So therefore, they like to enjoy the tourist. They like to enjoy the destinations. So they need these sort of segments. So then if we go further, so these are the things, if we want to move with the alternative segmented tourists, definitely this will going to bring the individual family benefits. Everyone can share this cake if we can go for these things. If we move out of, we have to change our mental model. Still we are in the 1950s mental model. So no more this mental model can be accepted and be worthwhile for a country to have. The mental model should be changed. So we have to think about alternative segmented tourists and this differently branded tourism. So therefore, the local community will benefit, and for host country avoid the revenue leakage and prevent social tensions and preserve the local traditions. Ideal cost conscious travelers to want close contact with the locals and the benefit for international relations. All this can be possible if we can change our mental model and if we go for the emerging segmented marketing. So this is what simply I can show the picture of how much it's big. You can see that at the moment we are totally dependent on conventional tourism. That is from 1950s. So soon after the Second World War, we entered into the conventional tourism. Still we are thinking the conventional tourism is possible. But that's good. That's good because we get a large number of heads. But today, the world is moving to the small special interest tourism groups. So that will derive from the nature perspective, cultural perspective, event perspective, even many other concepts. So there are so many hundred and tens of tourism segments and alternative tourism product what the country can offer to the globe. But unfortunately, we are not focusing on that. We are still depending on things. So we had to ensure the environmental sustainability and we had to ensure the socio-cultural sustainability while ensuring so the economic growth. So that is what most importantly, we have to work on triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit. So these three things are quite important for a country to move forward. So finally, if you come to the destination, I'm simply showing what is the framework, what we have, what should have. First of all, we should identify who are our tourists. First of all, that is most important. We should understand our demands and what to be demanded from Sri Lanka. It's not just to throw the things over the sky and find the tourists. We should understand who are the tourists to come to Sri Lanka and what are the expectations from Sri Lanka. According to that, we should understand things and we should prepare the destination. It's very important. Without the destination, you can't say the country is not the destination. The tourist destination is, as I said, the value chain should be totally fill the destination with all the comfort, all the facilities and all the necessary requirements, and the destination should be well planned and developed with the integration of all the stakeholders. And the meanwhile, the country to be benefited, the country to move forward, most important factor is the local community. Because whatever we do, the countries belong to the people. So we can't neglect the people. The community people should be part of tourism. And then the tourism industry will move forward because the tourism industry is with all the suppliers. So if we can understand this framework, first we will be able to move forward successfully the country. So I think this is the just is none because there's a very limited time. I don't want to share, but I had taken a long time. So very sorry for the taking this much of time and things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for that excellent, thought-provoking, and very informative presentation. I'm not expert in the tourism, but I learned a lot from your presentation. As you said, we are rich with resources with many shortcomings. However, we are in a better position to overcome most of shortcoming by capitalizing on the available resources. Thank you very much for that thought-provoking presentation.